Want to see how I took some foam, resin, and this silicone mold and turned it into this amazing nerdy table display? Well, I documented the entire process and I will walk you through each step I took. Hi, I'm Jenna or Jenna Cat and I am addicted to making things. I was so excited to do this Legend of Zelda inspired piece for my friend for Christmas and he was ecstatic to get this surprise. So let's just cut to the chase and get right into the process of making this project. Okay, this first bit is my practice piece. I say practice because I ended up ruining it partway through and had to start over. But you know, we can't learn and grow if we don't fail a few times, right? I started by tracing the mold I'm going to put the foam in and cut it out with my hot wire knife. I like to underestimate my cuts because I can always cut more off if I need to, but I can't add more on if I cut too much. I put the destroyed Master Sword in the center and started sketching which areas needed to be carved. My plan was to make the sword look like it was floating in a mystical cave, so I need to cut out the center, but also make a hole at the top to insert the USB-powered spotlight. And I needed a little shelf for my clay Karoke to sit. So here's where I tried a variety of techniques, and none of them worked out too well. The small knife wasn't hot enough to cut at the speed I wanted, so I switched to the bigger one, but it was hard getting the right angles to cut out the middle without nicking the sides. But I just kept chipping away the best I could and learned what worked best for attempt number 2. I've really been enjoying Tears of the Kingdom, though I'm pretty far behind on it if I'm being honest. Fun fact about me, Breath of the Wild was actually the game that got me to fall in love with video games in the first place, and it was the first game I bought when I purchased my Switch in like 2018. Oh my gosh, look at how good that spotlight looks. I used my dinky heat gun to do my favorite rock texture technique, but even this I would improve upon later because it was just not working out well. To do this technique, I use a spray bottle to spray water onto the foam, then hit it with a heat gun which heats up the little water droplets, melting through the foam and creating this rock-like texture. But I went a little too far with the heat, and as you can see, there's some pretty big holes in the back, which I ended up deeming too significant for the look I was going for. So here we are going for round 2. Instead of using my hot wire knife to cut the foam into shape, I decided to use my hot wire cutting table for cleaner, straighter lines. This technique was already yielding way better results. Cutting the rounded edges was a little tricky, and I'm sure there's a better technique for it, but I just tried to keep my hands as steady as possible while I followed the lines with the cutting wire. Then I went back and forth testing to see if it would fit in the mold, cutting off more chunks as I went. I think my favorite part about Tears of the Kingdom is literally just falling through the sky. It's so beautiful and serene and gives you a different perspective of Hyrule than ever seen before. Oh my god, this is incredible! Okay, it fits, but it sticks too far past the mold ledge, which wouldn't be good when I go to fill it with resin, since I want the resin to coat the entire model, so I have to shave the foam down a bit. I did very, very slim slices at a time. Listen to that foam ASMR. Sketching my outline again, and this time I made sure I was very steady and intentional with my cuts from the hot wire knife, while also keeping in mind that I'll lose foam thickness when I go in with the heat gun, so I was careful to not make any cuts too drastic. I'm really so excited for this light. I think it's going to make the whole piece come to life. Alright, I've got the big boy heat gun now, and it works loads better. There's a little bit of a hole in the back of this piece, but I think it will be cool to have a little bit of natural light peeking through at the back. Every time I hold the sword in the center with the light in, I get all giddy thinking that this is going to look so cool at the end. Time to paint. It doesn't really matter what the paint looks like because I'm going to be coating the whole thing in moss, but a base of brown and green will be good in case any colors can be seen through the moss layer. This part is also so therapeutic. Once the paint dried, I coated it with Mod Podge. Mod Podge? Mod Podge. I never pronounce it right. Whatever. I coated it with Mod Podge. I think it's Mod Podge. Then sprinkled the moss all over the surface. Then I continue to reuse the excess moss for the next layer so nothing goes to waste. I have this Mod Podge glue spray that helps with really tacking that moss down, especially since I'll be pouring resin over it. I don't want any particles coming loose and murking up the resin. I did do a couple layers of moss to ensure that I had the whole piece coated thoroughly. Now to decorate with a bunch of different dried flowers. I will say now that when I poured the resin, some of the color leaked out of the flowers because I don't think they were completely dry after I sprayed them with the glue beforehand. So they don't look as pretty as in the final product, and I probably wouldn't use them again, or I would make sure they were completely dry before pouring the resin. Okay, so here's my hopefully brilliant plan for keeping any resin filling up the hole intended for the light. I mixed together the silicone mold putty and shoved that inside the hole where the light will go. I had to make sure to seal up every edge, nook, and cranny so no resin would sneak in. Now, making my little Kuroke friend. I made one prior to this, but left it sitting out for so long that it dried up and started falling apart. But again, it was good practice for when I make this new one. I used sculpting clay, a reference photo, and some sculpting tools. And yes, I was watching Sam and Colby in the background. No, this is not a plug for them, but if you also watch them, then you understand how good they are. Holy fisheye Batman, I have no idea what happened to my settings here, but it is what it is. Okay, I'm a little nervous here trying to get the piece into the mold without messing up the moss, which is why I coated it in that spray glue. The moss did make it a little more chunky than before, so at first I was afraid it wouldn't fit, but after a nice hard push, it slid into place. That chunk of moss is sticking up a little too high, but oh well, it will stick out of the resin a teeny bit and I'm just gonna live with it. Filling up the last little cracks with some more silicone putty. Love-hate relationship with resin. The outcome is always so cool and parts of the process are fun, but most of the time I'm just cursing to myself and making a giant mess. Well, is that any different than my day-to-day life? Not really. So this was the first time I used this particular resin and I'm not sure I'd use it again. It was so weird while I was stirring it, honest to God, bubbles would float out and away. I never had resin do that before, but maybe that's like a common trait for a lot of resins, I don't know. It was weird to me. And turns out that those bubbles would cause me a lot of headache later. I think with this particular resin, I need to practice getting the bubbles out more before using it on a big project like this. I poured the first layer of resin and double-checked the amount would put the sword exactly where I wanted it once it dried. I like to get out every last little drop because resin is not cheap. Popping some bigger bubbles before hitting it with the heat gun to pop those smaller ones. Unfortunately, I just did not get all the bubbles popped before it fully cured. Don't even ask me what my technique was here. I was in a hurry, so I just used a finger to sprinkle a little bit of gold glitter and a diagonal line across where the sword will sit to make the golden light be more pronounced and magical. Then I used the heat gun to make the gold a little more centralized. Okay, here's the really exciting part. Adding the sword and the Karoke. I glued the Karoke into place, then laid the sword down in the center to pour the next layer of resin. I decided to just coat the whole thing at this point since there wasn't much left to fill the rest of the mold anyways, and I think I was out of danger of the resin overheating and melting into the mold. It is really satisfying watching the heat gun obliterate all those bubbles. I started pulling at the sides and tapping the mold on the table to make sure the resin got all the way down and around every section. Okay, we've got 2 moments of truth. Moment of truth number 1 is if this will come out of the mold and how it will look out of the mold. And it feels like it's pretty solid and set. Moment of truth number 2 will be taking out that putty, silicone putty, and hoping that it will come out and I can put this light in that hole. So, let's go ahead and do it. Okay. Okay. Last thing. Oh, this putty is actually giving me some struggle. Just a little bit. Okay, let's see if I can get it off. I wasn't expecting the putty to stick to the mold. That I was not expecting. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of cut the putty for now. Oh, I don't think I can even cut it. There we go. Okay, putty's out. Oh, wow. Okay, this is what it looks like. Wow, I hate that there was a big bubble here that I didn't catch, but I think it'll be okay. And then there are a couple spots in the back. Darn, that line still showed through. I was not expecting that. So I could leave it, or I could find a way to just like do a very thin coat of resin, but I need to see if I can get this putty out. This is the next most important part, is getting this putty out. All I have are these chunky pliers, and I don't think I will be able to get a good grip with the chunky pliers. Oh shoot, oh no, I bent the resin a little bit. Okay, I need to be more careful. Oh, that's gonna be a good chunk, I think. Come on. Come on. Okay. Okay, it's so close. No, I don't think, well, maybe. No. Oh, it's so close. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. The hole is there. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. I'll have to do a little bit of cleaning up around it, and I'll have to cover it up, but let's get the light in. Oh no, there's so many bubbles. Oh no. No, I'm heartbroken. There's so many bubbles. I don't even know what to do. I don't know, I'm heartbroken. I don't know what to do. Okay, I know I was so heartbroken about all those bubbles, and still am, but everyone I showed this to still thought it looked so incredible, and the bubbles almost added a bit of mysterious ambiance or like atmospherics to the scene. But regardless, when I make my next project like this, I will be making damn sure I get as many bubbles popped as possible, so that it looks more like the image I had in my head. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see me do more projects like this, let me know down in the comments below. I have at least one other that I will be making and documenting the progress of, so stay tuned for that.